All right, everyone, welcome. So today we're going to dive into one of the most vital, most important theological conversations for anyone doing ministry in Nigeria, the whole idea of inculturation. And look, this isn't just some abstract academic concept. It's about the very heart of how we live and share our faith, right here, right now. So let's just get right to it. The entire discussion really boils down to this one single question. How can the Christian faith be truly at home in Nigerian culture? I mean, not as a visitor, right? Not as some foreign import, but as something that has put down deep, authentic, life-giving roots right here in our soil. This is a question for every single one of us, no matter our denomination. And to even begin to answer that, we've got to start in the right place. The theologian Henry Okulu, he reminds us that real African theology, it's not just found in textbooks or in seminary halls. No, it's out there, in the fields, in the village church, in the spontaneous prayers of a family. You can hear it in the drum beats, you can feel it in the songs. It is theology as a lived, breathing reality. Now, to really get where we are today, we have to look back at how we got here. And for many, that initial encounter between Christianity and African cultures, well, it wasn't a gentle conversation. It was more like a collision. The assumption so often was that to become a Christian, you had to leave your Africanness at the door. Your traditions were dismissed as pagan or diabolic, and this created this deep, painful tension between a person's faith and their very identity. So this theologian, Karl Rahner, he gives us this really brilliant way to think about this whole history. He saw the church's story in three big phases, three great epochs. First, there was this very brief period of Jewish Christianity, where the faith was expressed completely within its home culture. But then came the second epoch, the longest one by far, a Greco-Roman and European Christianity. For almost 2,000 years, the faith got completely wrapped up in European culture and philosophy. It's only now, really since the middle of the 20th century, that we're finally stepping into this third epoch, the era of a true world church. And Rayner's description of that second era is just, wow, it's so powerful. Look at this quote. He said, "The church often acted like an export firm which exported a European religion as a commodity. The faith was basically shipped around the world, but it came pre-packaged in European cultural wrappers, with a big, clear do not modify label on it." Just think about that for a second. Think about what that meant for our own cultures, right here in Nigeria. But then, in the 20th century, something massive began to shift. The official thinking started to change. This recognition that for the church to be truly global, it had to be truly local, everywhere. This was really the dawn of that third epoch that Rahner was talking about. And this slide right here, this is the turning point. In 1969, in Kampala, a statement was made that honestly sent shockwaves through the Christian world. Now, yeah, this came from a Catholic leader, Pope Paul VI, but the principle he laid out was revolutionary for everybody. He didn't just say you can have an African Christianity, he said you must. It was a high-level endorsement, a clear instruction to let the faith breathe with African lungs. It was a theological green light that started to change everything. And this whole process was given a name, inculturation. Let's really look at this definition from Pedro Arup. It's the incarnation of the Christian message. Now that is such a powerful choice of words, isn't it? Just as Christ became flesh, a real person in a specific Jewish culture, the gospel message is meant to take on the flesh of every culture it encounters, transforming it from the inside out to create something brand new. So let's be super clear here. This is the crucial point. Inculturation is not the same thing as simple adaptation. Adaptation is superficial. It's like, just changing the color of a priest's robes. Inculturation, on the other hand, is a deep mutual transformation. Think of it like a healthy graft on a tree. The faith enriches the culture, and the culture gives us brand new ways to understand and express the eternal truths of the faith. It is absolutely a two-way street. Okay, so let's bring this all down from the big global history and the theological theory and get practical. Let's bring it right here, to the ground. In Nigeria, how is this idea of inculturation actually being lived out in our churches and our communities today? Well, it's everywhere if you just start to look. Think about the translation of the Bible and the liturgy into our own languages. Think about the beautiful, powerful sacred music being composed in Igbo or Yoruba or Hausa. You see it in liturgical dance, like that incredible Idoma Ogrinya Thanksgiving dance. It's happening in the way Yoruba naming rituals are being brought into the faith, how Ibira marriage rites are being honored, and even in using traditional Igbo patterns of reconciliation to bring healing to communities. And this isn't just happening at the grassroots level. This is a very serious academic and pastoral project happening at key theological institutions all across Nigeria. You've got centers like Siwa and SIST digging into contextual issues like politics and liberation. You have the Dominican Institute in Ibadan retrieving ancient Christian tradition to answer modern Nigerian questions. And the MSP Seminary in Abuja is focused on missiology, really bridging that gap between deep theology and real-world pastoral practice. But this brings us to a really critical point for all of you. The work of inculturation is not a finished project. It's not a museum piece we look at. It is an ongoing, it is urgent, and it is an unfinished task. For church leaders in Nigeria today, this is the frontier of our theological work. Pope Francis just captures the spirit of this work so perfectly. A good theologian, and I would say a good pastor, can't just stay in the library. They have to smell of the people. They have to understand their joys, their sorrows, their worldview. It's only from that place of deep, real connection that our theology can become like that oil and wine, bringing real healing to people's actual lives. So what does this frontier look like in practice? Well, our source material, from its Catholic perspective, points out two major areas. First, the need to enculturate our core doctrines. How do we explain huge concepts like grace, creation, eschatology in ways that connect deeply with the Nigerian worldviews? And second, the massive challenge of enculturating marriage, integrating Christian teaching with our rich traditional rites while pastorally navigating really complex issues like polygamy. Now, as we're looking at these, start thinking, what are the parallel challenges for us within our own evangelical traditions? So we've spent this time looking at the development of this theology. And yeah, we've looked at it largely through a Catholic lens because that's where our source material focused. But the principle is absolutely universal. So I want to leave you with this question to carry with you into your studies and into your future ministries. This is their agenda. What is the unfinished task for your tradition? What does an authentic, spirit-filled, enculturated evangelical faith look like in your community? That right there is the theologian's frontier you are being called to explore.